Good morning, fellow streakers. This is Jeff and Jamie, and we are with you on the Streaking Podcast. How are you doing this morning, Jamie?
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
This week was quite the week, honestly. We had several church camps that happened this week, and we had just fun. I was asked to go speak. We had a young men's church camp, and I was asked to speak on streaking, and that was a blast.
Really, I know all those young men are going to go home and tell their parents, "We learned how to go streaking." They'll go home and tell their parents what it is.
Absolutely.
Redefine it.
Redefine. And that was, honestly, at the beginning of the camp, one of the things that, or just before I got up to speak, they're saying, we're going to talk about streaking. And one of the young men said, everyone take your shirt off.
Yes, that was funny.
It's like, no. What we're going to tell you is the real word of streaking. So we are streakers, definition. But we are not streakers according to the Urban Dictionary definition. We are streakers in the sense of we are intentional, conscious, consistent, consecutive activities that we do on a regular basis to improve ourselves. So if you're joining us for the first time, that is what this show is all about, is how to use the principles of consistency to really significantly accomplish what you want to accomplish in life, or to be, said better, I don't know, maybe have said better, but to become who you want to be.
Right.
How'd I do there?
I think you did great.
Yeah?
I did like the said better, because it is the becoming who you want to be. It's the ability to be, it's the like you talked about this morning, we were talking about it is the how to the what. So there's a lot of things out there telling us what we need to do to improve, what we need to do to become who we want to be. Streaking gives you the how.
Yeah.
So I have a really good example this morning that I hope my daughter is okay if I share, because I forgot to ask her.
I think she will. And so what we're going to be talking about in our show today and in the conversation today is all about, the way that I titled it is, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but you should set a streak. And so you're going to start with that story. Before we start with that story, I wanted to give a couple of shout outs.
Oh, a shout out.
Yeah, shout outs. So I was talking with Chance, who is, our 9-year-old streaker, who just was like, Dad, can you do a couple of shout outs? Because I think you should, for people that have been having their streaks for a little while. And so I said, sure, I think that would be great. So my first shout out is going to go to Chance. And he has 2 streaks that he's been keeping alive and is very proud of. And I'm proud of him for doing it because he remembers them all the time. Practice at least one move daily, 242 days in a row. And
by move, he means one karate move.
Yeah, that's right.
242?
242 days.
Nice job, Chance.
All
Shout
right.
out.
Shout out. The other one is do at least 10 push-ups daily. 234 days. So
nice.
That one's a little bit behind as far as, it hasn't been as long yet as the practice at least one move daily, but way to be, Chance.
Nice.
There was one other one in here that I wanted to call out, and this call out goes to Claire. And Claire, one of our fellow streakers out there, she has what I call I don't know exactly what to call this type of a streak yet, but it's where you get to either 3 digits or 2 digits that are the same, or 4 digits that are the same.
Oh.
So she has write at least one sentence per day in my journal, 111 days.
Nice. 111. 111.
111. That's one of my favorite, because it's just the epitome of consistency,
yes.
Which I really love. So just a couple of shout outs there. We're going to strive diligently to start shouting out some of those streaks as you are now part of the streaking community, so that it goes all over the world and we can all join together in celebrating really each one of these individual streaks. So with that, I think we should get into what today. So you have a story of just your interaction with what happened, and that will lead us into our topic of, I hate to sound like a broken record.
Yes.
But you should really set a streak.
I had.
Yes.
Yes.
With Miss Rose.
So I was having a conversation with my daughter, who is in an interesting stage of life. So she's getting ready to graduate from college as an art major. She will have an art degree by the end of the summer. She's also pregnant with her first child, which she will also have by the end of the summer. And so she's transitioning from one season of life, being a college student, to a different season of life, kind of 2 of them at the same time, now a college graduate, and looking at what she wants to do with this degree that she's earned, as well as entering this new phase of, we're going to be parents. And so we've been talking a lot about times and seasons, especially as we're transitioning into summer and having your streaks be able to continue through the summer. So as I was talking to her the other day about graduating and different things that she wanted to be doing with her art, she was talking about this class that she's had and I thought this was great. So she's gone through all of college and she's taken all these classes that teach her how to be an artist, like, drawing and painting and different classes that she's taken in that regard. But this last class that they require her to take is all about kind of the mechanics of being an artist. So, for example, it's how to frame your pictures, when to frame your pictures, like what pictures need frames and which ones don't, how to mail your art, to ship your art, how you ship your art, how to get insurance for your art when you're shipping it. So I was kind of joking with her. I was like, oh, so it's like in math, you take geometry and algebra, and then they have this class that teaches you how to balance your checkbook. It's the practicalities of life. And so she was talking, and one of the things that they've also teach them in this art class is Instagram, how to post your art on social media websites, because social media is a huge way for people to be able to see your art.
Right.
And so I was asking her how she's doing with that, and she was lamenting and saying that it's been hard for her to post on Instagram, that's a hard thing for her to do. And she was saying that it's been hard to get herself to do it, and just kind of, she says, I'll get the picture taken, but then I want to edit the picture in a certain way so that when it posts, it looks a certain way, and I haven't done that as well as I want to. And so I asked her, I said, are there other Instagram people that you are following, that other artists? And she's like, oh yeah, tons. I'm following tons and tons of artists. And I said, well, then you could copy kind of the things that they're doing, find the posts that they have that you like and mimic what they do. That's where you start. And she's like, yeah, I should do that. And then she goes, I've taken the class on how to do all of this in Instagram. There's something holding me back. I just haven't been able to start yet. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what to do. And this hence is the part where I said, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this is the perfect thing to set a streak around. You should set a streak. And she goes, yeah, being my daughter, of course. And, us being the parents of streaking. I don't know what to call us. The OGs of streaking.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's
anytime I say OG, I always think of what my mom says, the old grandma. So, now I'm the old grandma of streaking.
You're not.
No.
You're the original gangsta.
The original gangsta. And that's probably an old saying now anyway. I digress. So as I was saying this, I got to thinking, and I was just talking to her about it and realized why streaking is so perfect in this situation for her. And there was a couple things that I wanted to just talk about and bring up. The first thing is she's starting something new. And it's really good when you're starting something new to look around and see what's out there and see what the people who are doing it have done. Find the mentor, find what other people are doing so that you see how it can be done and what you want to do. And then you start off by kind of doing what they've done. The downside of that is the people that you're looking at are a lot farther down the road than where you are. You're starting, they're farther down the road. It can be difficult to look at where they are and where you are and not feel like I need to be where they are before I even start. My stuff needs to look like that, especially when you're posting it on Instagram and my stuff doesn't look like that yet. And so I told her about the story about the photography class and the professor that divided his class. It was a photography class, and he divided his class in half, and half of the class was going to be graded on quality. So they only needed to hand in one picture at the end of the semester, but it needed to be their best quality picture, and that's what their grade would be based on. The other half of the class was not going to be measured on quality. They were only going to be measured on quantity. So they needed to hand in 100 photographs. And as long as they handed in 100 photographs,
Was it a specific number, or was it just as many as they needed to?
I don't know if it was a specific number. I remember it being 100,
but maybe it was as many as possible, or one a day, something like that.
Well, they had to have a certain number
anyway,
that they hit. Quantity. If they hit that certain number, that's all they had. They had to have that many photos that they handed in, and then they would. Right. That's what they were graded on, is how many they handed in.
Right.
And the professor said that at the end of the semester, those that were being graded on quantity actually had a significantly higher level of quality.
Really?
Than those who had spent the semester focusing on quality.
Yeah.
And the reason is because this idea of quality is overwhelming. And we don't get to quality without quantity. We just don't. You have to.
Hence, one of my favorite sayings, quality is the enemy of consistency. Yet, consistency is the best friend of quality.
Mm-hmm. You have to have quantity. You have to do a whole bunch of things to learn and get to the place that you have quality.
Right.
But when we have so much, so in this example with Rose, where she's on Instagram and looking at other people's quality and not necessarily always seeing, we don't always necessarily see the quantity, or sometimes we do see the quantity, and that can be overwhelming too, and think, wow, they've got a ton out there, and where do I even start?
I think that's one of the things, just a little bit of not a segue, but a related point is sometimes when people ask me how long, or I relate how long I've kept a streak alive, for example, and they're just beginning their streaking journey, and I've been in the streaking journey for 6 years,
right. You
can start to compare, and that comparison is, again, comparison of accomplishment, because
right.
really the streak is, the record of the streak is an accomplishment of some sorts. And so I start to compare myself as far as the accomplishment is concerned, and that's incorrect. What I need to do is focus on what I'm putting in.
Right. And so that's where the streak is great, because it changes that focus. And that's what I was telling my daughter, is that by setting a streak, you're changing the way that you're thinking about this. You're not focusing so much on the quality of what you have to do. And at some level, you're not even focusing on getting to a certain number of quantities. You're just focusing on what you need to do today.
Right.
Your laughably simple part of the streak today. And so we talked about what that could be for her. At first, we talked about, well, maybe it's a post a day, set a streak to do a post a day. And both of us were like, that's a lot. That's a lot to do.
That's too hard.
That's too hard. And so I was thinking, I was like, well, maybe it's just look at a post, review a post, or post a post a day. So you're either looking at someone else's post and learning something about it, or posting your own post every day. So that could be simple enough. You just open Instagram and look at one of the people you're following.
Said in the language of a streak then, post or review or post at least one time daily on Instagram.
Exactly.
Review. And one of the, as you look at this, and I want to get a little granular on this, as you consider setting up your streak, and especially as Rose is considering setting up her streak, this streak, one of the words that you can toss around is study one post a day. I believe that studying is a tough word.
Yeah.
I mean, because study gives a emphasis of I've got to have a certain level of quality, I've got to have a certain level of focus, I've got to have a certain amount of time, whatever it is. And I believe study gives the incorrect kind of idea or behind a streak, whereas review gives you a place to start. And if I'm reviewing at least one post daily, or review or posting one post daily on Instagram, that then gives me an opportunity. Now, posting one thing on Instagram may be a little bit more difficult.
Right.
However, the review or post allows you now to have the simplicity behind it, so that I may have 7 reviews in a row and then one post.
Right.
So why not just start with a post? Why not? I mean, why not have, do one post a week? Would that be laughably simple? Or one post a month? Why review or post? Why not separate the two and say have one that is review at least one artist's post in Instagram daily, and the second one be post at least one time weekly, or if that's not laughably simple enough, post at least one time monthly. I mean, why not separate them?
You could totally separate them. Actually, as you're saying that, I think that's a great idea. I think and this is the beauty of setting a streak, is you're looking through these things and deciding, okay, what is it that why am I doing this? What is it that I want to be?
Right.
And what part of my be statement is this fulfilling? How is this helping me become who I want to be?
Who I want to be. So with that being said, I think that there's 2 ways to make it laughably simple. One, the reviewing. So if we're saying to Rose, review at least one post daily, that's probably laughably simple. And again, laughably simple, like what you said, depends on the eyes of the streaker.
Self-determined, yep.
The streaker is the one that determines what it is you decide is laughably simple.
Only you can decide what your laughably simple is. And that really is true. Like, we each only can know what our laughably simple is. And So the two things I think about that is, one, don't compare your laughably simple to someone else's laughably simple, because it'll depend on where they are in their journey of what they're setting their streak around.
Right.
And two, as you set your laughably simple, try to imagine your worst day. Like, you know what I mean? You may be in a good place when you're setting it, and your laughably simple right now may not be so laughably simple when something, unexpected happens. So think about that unexpected. Plan for it. Think about
those circumstances. And I love the way that you talked about it, on our last podcast, and something that was posted on Instagram from one of our great content creators, Laurel. It said, a quote from you: streaking allows you to keep the most important things an intentional part of your life through every season.
So that was the second part, as I was talking with Rose, is that she's about to go through a dramatic change in seasons in her life. Extremely dramatic. Going from being a college student to being a parent is a big shift in seasons. And the timing of this, where you've spent the last 4 years of your life investing in becoming an artist, and then at the same time now you're switching that focus to becoming a parent, one of the things that she's been looking at is, how do I still maintain my joy and love of doing the art things while I'm also recognizing I'm going to be in a totally different time and season of my life. I'm going to be a new parent.
Yeah.
And not knowing what to expect with that. And so that's where we talked about the same thing, a streak, a laughably simple streak centered around being able to, if she wanted to continue working on posting on Instagram, there's a lot you can do with that while you're still embracing the fact that you're in this new season of being a mom. And the thing that I love about this is that as you set this streak around it, it allows two things specifically for Rose, is that one, it allows her to recognize that for this time in season, she's a new mom. Mm-hmm. That's a big season.
Yeah.
Every time you're a new mom, like your whole life changes for a period of time. Well, it changes forever, but the new mom,
we know that.
That specific time of new mom, there's a lot going on there, and you really have to allow yourself the time to be in that season.
Right.
To not feel frustrated about things.
Right.
But on the same note, she's just graduated from college. She's spent all of this time, and she doesn't want to lose that. She wants to be able to continue allowing that to be a part of her life. And so by having a streak around, if let's say her streak is just to review an Instagram post daily, and let's say she does separate that out and she does a review.
So she has one, and then the other is a post.
And the other one is a post monthly. The thing that does is allows her to continue doing the things that she wants to do to become an artist, while still recognizing that she's in this different time and season. And because it's laughably simple, she is still doing something about it, which means she's still thinking about that. Even if it's a tiny bit, she's still thinking about the art aspect of her life.
Right.
The mom aspect is probably going to be a really big part of it for a while, but she still has this part that the art aspect of her life is still there. And then as the mom part of the new mom part tapers off a little bit, and she becomes a regular person again.
You sound like you speak from experience.
That new mom stage is, you're a different person for a while, not yourself. As that tapers off and she has the ability to think a little bit more about the art aspect of her life, she doesn't have to completely pick it up from scratch. And I think it's really important that, because when we have a streak and we've kept doing something laughably simple, and we've gone through a period of time in life where for whatever reason, the laughably simple is all we've been able to do.
Yeah.
We haven't been, the at least is all that's happened. Mm-hmm. When we come out of that season and we can do more than the at least, you can pick that up, and you've been thinking about it and you've been doing a little bit of it each time. There's a lot of self-talk that has changed because of that. Instead of thinking, wow, I haven't been doing this forever, and feeling like, oh, I've got a lot to do, or I've got to catch up, or, why didn't I even try a little bit? All of that little bit of negative self-talk or doubting self-talk that you have because you haven't been doing anything with it is totally different, because you have been doing a little bit with it. Mm-hmm. And now you start to feel like, wow, even in this time and season where I had to focus on this other thing, I didn't let this streak completely go.
Right.
And I'm not starting way back there. I'm starting where I am. and I can do a little bit more. And it does something inside of you that allows you to be able to keep going with confidence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. I want to tie off one little thing about the laughably simple. And the laughably simple, just going back to where we were just talking about reviewing, you can make laughably simple by the words you use.
Yes.
Review versus study. You can also do laughably simple by the time frame, daily, weekly, or monthly. Now, I found that streaks fit within one of those three categories. Monthly is kind of the outside time frame. When you get past monthly, it's not consistent enough, at least for me, what I've found in my experience, to really keep it going.
Yeah, quarterly streak is tough.
Quarterly is a tough one, and or an annual streak. It's not quite condensed enough.
Well, and I feel like if you have an annual streak, there's something in there that you can be doing more often that's gonna.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like an annual thing is gonna end up being more of a goal.
Yeah.
You want to get to something in this certain amount of time. And
True.
There's going to be smaller things that you're doing consistently along the way.
So that's what I look at as far as daily, weekly, or monthly, as far as the frequency of the streak or the words that you use or the quantity. I'm going to do this thing at least one time daily.
Right. So
all of those things come together. And as you talked about Rose and I thought about what it is that she's going into, I thought about other people in times and seasons. And that brought me to another one of our daughters, Megan, and her husband, Mark, who are in the season of law school. And how keeping streaks alive in that season is also looking at and saying, Rose is birthing a baby as far as human being, and they are birthing a law degree.
Right.
They both have different challenges and difficulties, very time-consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at and saying, but if I kept my laughably simple streak alive through that entire thing, as I look at what Rose is doing, what Megan is doing, and how they can then, at the end of that, say, you know what? I kept it alive. It does something for your credibility inside.
It does. It totally does.
Yeah. Well, we've enjoyed the opportunity. I've enjoyed listening and hearing your perspective with what Rose was today. As we continue forward, if you have questions or would like to reach out to us, please do so at Jeffrey, Jeffery, at streakingmastery.com.
Or Jami, Jami, at streakingmastery.com. You can also follow us on Instagram or Facebook or Pinterest.
Or download the app, or you can go to our website. So our website is streakingmastery.com, or download the app and shoot me a friend request. And you just look for my name underneath the friends and shoot me a friend request. I'd love to be a friend with you, or I'll shoot you one. We'd love to have you as a friend.
Then you can be on the shout-out list.
Yeah, then you'd be on the shout-out list. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you'll need to share a streak with me.
You have to share a streak.
And I'll be conscious of what streaks you share with me. If you don't want them shouted out, I'll make sure and just keep your first name in there. So
there you
go. Next time, we're going to talk a little bit about leveling up.
Ooh,
interesting
nice.
Topic, huh?
Yes.
So we'll do that. Anyway, until next time,
keep streaking.